If you ask 10 people how you can get better and you get 2 ideas from each, then you've got something to start with.
Sure.
But what is interesting is some managers, they cannot give you 2 ideas. They cannot give you 2 ideas of how to improve. And that worries me. And what I'm now saying to clients is, if you ask for feedback in an organization and people won't genuinely help you and give you ideas of how you can improve, you're in the wrong place.
Yep.
I think there is a huge skill in having the ability to ask how we can get better without being concerned about it.
Sure.
I'm not sure the words right, but so I'm just building on the feed forward thing, because I think there's something very useful in that.
You know, this president I mentioned earlier, he wanted to do an opinion survey one time, and I did what I could to talk him out of it, but he wanted to do it anyway, and I told him he had to get back and respond. But one of the things on there was, and this is in the 80s now, so was that I'm concerned about the safety, I'm concerned about the security of my job. And it was a yes, no, or whatever, was a scale of 1 to 10 or whatever the case was. And it was overwhelming. Everyone just about was like, yes, I'm concerned about my job security.
Yeah.
And his response to that to the entire company was, me too. I'm concerned about my job security. Yeah. And that just blew people away. Now, some of them were really worried. They go, well, if he's going to get fired, I can get fired. But you know what? He was delivering that reality to them. He said, I could get terminated tomorrow. You know, I might be the president of the company, but that doesn't mean anything. So that information given back, you know, that kind of information back to people, and hey, ask what can I do to be better at what I'm doing. You know, I worked for a couple of people. I might have mentioned this once before too, when you and I had some conversations. I probably worked for maybe 4, maybe 5 executives that for some reason or another, I don't know, they liked me, you know, I don't know. They took me under their wing and would mentor me without me ever asking them. But I got to the point where I could say to them, how could I do this better? How could that worked out okay, but how could I do it even better? And they would spend time. They would spend time with me. And I think that many managers ought to have that as an opportunity for people.
Absolutely. No, I think that's really important. Because if we want to make it easy for people to get better. We want to make it easy for us to get better.
Well, I'm gonna make another comment. I'm gonna go back to how NLP could be used, because I keep thinking about all these different things here in my mind at the moment in a corporate environment, and I've done this in a number of places. The opportunity for when someone could ask that question, because you know a lot of people are shy about talking to the boss.
No, absolutely.
I mean, I'm being nice when I say shy. You know, basically when they see the boss showing up, they were going to run the other way and hide in their office. That's usually a clue. That's feedback. The bosses should notice that to me, right? I mean, I would. And so they come to performance appraisals, and that's a whole nother story, except it has loads of communication in it. That's the opportune time when the boss says to someone, well, I think you can do this. You got to do this better. That's an opportunity for the person to say, well, how? How can I do it better? Give me some ideas. That's an opportunity, but they don't do that.
No, and bosses sometimes don't always like it.
Well,
it's quite. Sorry, I'm being a bit humorous here because I teach people through this process, and really some of the bosses are horrified by the question because they pass out advice without knowing how to answer that question. I want to get better at. Please, you get better at this. How? I don't know.
Right. Bosses don't have all the answers, and unfortunately, most people rise into an organization either from coming outside and getting a new job, or they're promoted from within, and somehow or another. I always start with the first line supervisors, people. You know, they would start out, for example, as a worker on a job, but they're the best one, so they're going to promote them to a supervisor. And I refer to that and have for years as a supervisor, because they don't really know how to manage people. They know how to do their job. They don't know how to manage. And then, but somehow or another, overnight, when they get that job, they're knighted, and they say, now you know everything there is to know about managing people, you know, this kind of thing. But they're not really trained to do that. So, and then that goes up to the organization.
I think that happens a lot.
You see,
it's fascinating.
So the performance appraisal thing, I think why it's possible that people it doesn't, they don't recognize it as an opportunity is because, and this is about, I'm getting back to NLP now for a second, by changing a different approach to how it's written out. When people say, so if I was going to do a performance appraisal, normally what happens is they would go like this. They would say, Michael needs to do this better. Michael does this well. Michael needs to do this better. And the first time I had that as an experience, I thought, who are they writing this to? I'm sitting here with my boss and he's talking about me like I'm a dead alien on a slab someplace, as opposed to I'm supposed to receive this as a communication to me, not about me. So who's this really for? And I asked that question. And so at least in one company I was in, we did change that around and started training the managers to the performance appraisal when you're going to do them is for the other person, not for personnel or human resources or whoever else is going to read the damn thing. But it's just a simple change. It's a referential change. And some people are probably sitting there thinking, well, that's simple and that's obvious. No, it's not so obvious. It's obvious now.
But it's interesting because it's a referential change, but it's also a bit of an identity change because it's suddenly me as a boss, my job is to help you succeed.
Yeah. And there's an opportunity in there. That's for the people. You do it like that, the person might, or the boss can say, what questions do you have? They always say, what questions do you have? And about your performance appraisal.
Yeah.
And I've been through a bunch of performance appraisals, having been an employee in a company. And most of them were pretty good. One of them, I got fired by the same guy 6 times. That's another story for another time. The fact that it was by the same guy 6 times gave me a clear indication that it wasn't me necessarily. It could have been my attitude towards him. But anyway, but it's how are we going to speak or write to the person who's supposed to get the message? So, and that's a very simple change. It's even like when someone will say, because I'll ask them, they say, well, I met with so-and-so yesterday. And I go, okay. And they say, and I talked to him. And I said, you did? Did you talk to him or did you speak with him? Which one is this? Did you do all the, if you did all the talking, sure, you did. Yeah, you talked to him, no problem. But if you were speaking with him or talking with him, then that gives me some kind of indication, at least in your mind, there was a give and take back and forth somehow. And that doesn't happen. That does not happen a lot of times. So it's all in the expression. People are going to tell you exactly what they're going on in their brain.